Good evening, I'm Manuel Fernandez and I'm going to do my presentation on child labor for the labor relations class. To start, I'm going to be really brief on this presentation because I don't have much time. I have to say everything within 5 minutes, so I'm going to go through the main points. Child labor is defined as employing children at any work which denies them from childhood and the classrooms, and in many cases from their own families. They get taken away, put them at work, whatever they're sent, and sometimes they don't see them for like months or weeks. Child labor practice is considered exploitative and can cause numerous levels of damage both physically and psychically to these helpless children. Some really interesting numbers in the actuality. Africa, the 40% of the children in the age under 14 work to support their families. The origins of child labor. There was a time where child labor was legal, especially after the Civil War in the United States, where many jobs were needed. Some of the places where the child labor was more common, it was for males. It used to be outside jobs like agriculture, picking up crops, or transportation on the street, trading something. And for the females, they used to work inside homes doing some home duties, helping the moms, cleaning, cooking, and all that. And obviously they didn't have any chances to decide for themselves. During the 20th century, it was more common to see them males starting to work into manufacturing industries all around in the roads as a messaging system for bigger companies, or just trading something that their owners or employers were giving them to do, just basically being like a male kids around the city. First appearances of child labor reforms. The first one was the National Child Labor Committee in 1904, and it was stated a minimum of 14 years old to work in manufacturing and 16 in mines, and a workday of 8 hours. That was kind of the closest to the one that we have actually in the present. There were still a lot of cases of child labor by then, so it was when President Roosevelt decided to get involved and start putting efforts into trying to avoid child labor in America. So after a few tries, he got to show the core what it was called, the Department of Commerce and Labor, what it was called the Fair Labor Standard Acts in 1938, where a better control over child labor was seen, and big amount of children were taken away from their jobs, and everything started to get a lot better from that moment. Child labor in the present. Past practices, as I was talking before, they're no longer seen, they're no longer found nowadays. That there is still, in America obviously, but there is still so many developing countries where the amount of children under 14 or even less working is extremely high. Although children under the age of 16 were excluded, there are still some cases of children working at that age, and that is on the age to 14 to 16. There are still found some cases in actual developed countries. So definitely something that we should keep working on it. What is a really interesting fact, child labor as a child labor, it's getting reduced and is disappearing from many countries, but what it was something that is not disappearing, it's slavery. Basically, slavery is pretty much the same, but with the distinction that they're taking them away, usually without the consentiment of their own families. So slavery, it's really common on developing countries like Africa, Asia, and Eastern Europe, where some mafias takes little children, girls, to send them into prostitution, promising them to have a better future somewhere else, but in reality they're just taking them to these prostitutes, but they just practicing prostitution. And same with males, they just take them to work in mines, carrying heavy weights, and their parents basically don't see them again. They just buy them for no money whatsoever. A big example of this is causing a lot of contribution in my home country, which is Spain, is Amancio Ortega, owns Inditex, which is is the largest textile company in the world, and is one of the richest guys in the world. He just manufactures and sells textile clothing, and it was found that almost every single clothing that he owns and sells is manufactured in China, Thailand, and all those countries where child labor is excessively large, especially in these factories where this employer only, and this is a fact, there is a lot of documentaries and a lot of researches about people going there and actually check about it, and that's why Spain is kind of against this company, because everyone knows that children are the one doing the clothes, but he said it's not his jurisdiction. He just make the contracts with the company, and he doesn't have anything to be with whoever the employer is employing. But obviously these kids don't have a chance. The employer for these factories in China say it's either children or no one, so these families rather have their kids sent to work there and at least have some source of income every week to be able to survive. So this practice is really common in China, where little kids are just spend the whole day in factories selling and carry some clothing somewhere else. So as I said, child labor, it's getting better, but it's definitely something that we have to improve, because there are still some countries, developed and not developed, where it's really common. In conclusion, child labor and slavery can be still seen in some countries, as I just said, and it is something really serious that is taking children away from their childhood, and more important, from schools. So if they're not educated, if they don't get culturalized in schools, they won't have a bright future. They won't have a normal life, basically. And the most important, they don't have the decision to choose for themselves. They don't have that chance to pick if they want to work or they want to study. They just have the chance of work, and that is something that needs to be completely eradicated. And hopefully in a future not that far away, big organizations and like the United Nations will put more effort into it, so it will eradicate it by punishing those big companies or this employer or these traffickers, send them to jail or something worse. And that's all. Thank you so much.